Here's the story of an immigrant who went from mailroom clerk to a senior executive at CI Financial, Canada's largest independent asset management firm. Roy Ratnavel.
Roy Ratnavel escaped torture and imprisonment in his home country of Sri Lanka during the Civil War. And with just $50 in his pocket, he fled here to Canada and rose from the mailroom to the executive office of the country's largest independent asset management company.
My podcast guest today is the author of Prisoner Number 1056. My guest today is Roy Ratnavel.
I started working, studying, did many odd jobs like factory work, security guard, and cleaning office buildings. Finally, I got a permanent job in a mailroom on Bay Street. I paid keen attention to what made people successful. I knew if I want to be successful, I can't be going around being offended by everything.
He is a business executive, an author, and also a recipient of, or recognized rather, as one of Canada's top business executives. And of course, he is a Sri Lankan. On the Sri Lankan Story today, I have with me Roy Ratnavel, who is in Canada. He was born in Sri Lanka, moved to Canada, and has become a recognized name in Canada. Roy, it's good to have you on the program today. Welcome to the story.
Thank you, Ishwaran, for having me, and hope all is well in Adelaide.
And, all is good. Still trying to manage with the weather, but all good here.
Awesome.
In my introduction, Roy, I spoke about how you, of course, are big when it comes to money matters in Canada. You are a business executive, and you've been recognized as one of the top 50 there. And also, you wrote a book, quite an interesting book. But first, let's talk about your Sri Lankan connections. I mean, where you were born in Sri Lanka and what, of course, made you move out of Sri Lanka to Canada.
Thank you. Appreciate the intro and the kind words. As for the best executive, top 50 in Canada, I suspect some kind of an administrative error, but I'll take the accolades anyways. Yeah, I was born in Sri Lanka, in fact, in Colombo, in December of 1969. And few years after my birth, my father decided to move us to the north to the ancestral hometown called Point Pedro, Perdithurai in Tamil. And so I basically started my schooling there at Hartley College. And, as war broke out after the riots in 1983, there was an operation in 1987 called Operation Liberation, which was organized by the Sri Lankan Army, in which I was rounded up along with 2,700 other young Tamil men and boys. I was at the age of 17 at the time, and I was sent to Gaul Boozer camp, shipped out in a cargo ship, and kept there for a few months, tortured and all that unfortunate incidents. And then when I came out of that, miraculously, I would say, because some of my friends never made out of there, I was able to leave the prison. My father decided that there's no future for a young boy like me, Tamil boy like me in Sri Lanka, and decided to send me away. So I came to Canada in 1988, April 18th, 19 to be precise, at the age of 18, and landed here by myself all alone. And the rest is history. And today I'm sitting here talking to you about in my early 50s and about the journey I had.
How has life been after moving to Canada? You went at a very young age. Was it tough? I guess it was.
I mean, it was tough in the sense I was young, and that was my first overseas trip of my entire life. And I'm in a different country, different culture. I don't know anything about how to navigate myself into a new society. So in that respect, it was tough. But in the other way is I felt safe. I didn't feel like I was going to be persecuted for being a Tamil. So that was a plus. And man, the weather was cold. I didn't realize how cold Canada can get. So, but yeah, I mean, the journey was no different than any other new immigrant. It doesn't matter is it Tamil or non-Tamil. It doesn't matter. If you're new to a country, there's going to be struggles. But I met so many incredible people in this country who have gave me a hand, lent me a hand, and I've found many mentors along the way who have helped me through life. And it wasn't easy. It was lots of failures, lots of disappointment, but also lots of wins.
Did what you had to go through when you were in Sri Lanka sort of motivate you to work harder and to get to where you are right now? Was that the motivational factor, or were there other issues? Were there other factors behind as well?
Well, 2 days after I landed in Toronto, my father was shot and killed by the Indian Army. After his untimely death, it left me with the feeling that if I did well enough in life, somehow I could make it for the life he should have had. And so I had to live for two people. That drive for living for him and me at the same time became, I would say, a coal for furnace of my ambition to drive me forward. So I had to tell myself to win in this game called life, and to make him proud. And for the reason that he sent me to Canada, and he told me at the Katnaka airport, gave me a last hug on April 18th, 1988, as tears was, flowing from his cheeks. And he said, don't just survive, but live. So I had to live for him. And I'm glad I did that. Now I have a son who's 18 years old. The ironic thing is he died when I was 18. He was 53 years old. Now my son is 18. I'm 53 years old, and I'm telling this story. It sounds like the stars are lined up in that way. I'm not a superstitious person, but sometimes you can not help to think about this. It's probably meant to be. And now he lives through not only me, but also my son. And I think that's his legacy. And I was happy to be able to tell his story, my story, and the collective Tamil story to the world through this book.
Yeah, let's talk about that book, Prisoner Number 1056. Quite interesting. I mean, firstly, the name itself obviously drew a lot of attention. I see Canadian media also reaching out to you and discussing a lot about the book. I mean, what made you, pen everything, your whole story, and draw attention to what you had to go through?
In my mid 30s, I thought about writing this book. Of course, the title of the book is based on my prisoner number. I was out of the 2,700 people, my number was 1056. I want to write this book for three reasons. One, to tell a tortured teenager's story. Through that, to be able to give the overall Tamil community a sense of redemption, and also an avenue or platform to grieve and have cathartic experience. The second, to give the Tamil young generation who have born outside of Sri Lanka, to give them a voice to give them a sense of what happened to their parents and grandparents. I think there's a sense of intergenerational trauma that cannot be ignored due to this horrible incident that took place in Sri Lanka. And third, and probably one of the most important reason I wanted to write the book, is to really give homage to Canada and the Western countries that have taken Tamils and given Tamils a refuge, and also gave us, including me, a chance at a second chance at life, and to say thank you for setting up a society that looks beyond culture, religion, and color. I mean, Canada is not without its flaws, don't get me wrong. No country is perfect, but it's a million times better than what I left behind. And so I wanted Canadians to appreciate the country and the society they have built. So putting all the three together is what the book is all about.
Has there ever been a time where you felt like, okay, maybe whatever happened in Sri Lanka could have been, if it didn't happen, let's say, that you would have preferred maybe to stay back in Sri Lanka as opposed to going to Canada and building the sort of life that you built?
I mean, yeah, obviously, there are times I think about how much Sri Lanka has lost in terms of the brain power and the human capital. I today mentor so many young men and women in this country. Many of them are Tamils from Sri Lanka, or second generation Tamils who are born for Sri Lankans. And entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, money managers, tech executives. These are people could have been in Sri Lanka building that country, but here they are in a foreign land helping Canada. Now it's our home, and it almost brings tears to my eyes because Sri Lanka had so much potential. When it got its independence in 1948, it was considered to be one of the most country to be successful economically and democratically. But what happened, what transpired since then was it's just sad how the leaders of the country have turned this into a mess, and everyone lost, not just Tamils, Sinhalese, as well as Tamils. Even today's issues that are happening in Sri Lanka are all rooted in bad policies, and I don't hold. In the book, if you have read it, you'll see that I'm not putting blame on every single Sinhalese citizen of that country at fault. In fact, the reason I'm alive today is because of our Sinhalese uncle who saved me. And there have been many heroic Sinhalese who have come to the aid of Tamils in a very dark time. They were the flickering hope of humanity, I call it. Very civil human beings. I think that if anything that I hope to achieve out of this book is for people to realize that, regardless of religion and culture, there is something we have more in common than differences, whether white, black, brown, Buddhists, Hindus, Christians. And so this book isn't about trying to point fingers and put blames, but really about reflection about what happened and what could have happened, and how we can collectively move forward, as opposed to being hung up on these divisions, as opposed to common bonds.
Were you surprised at the attention that the book drew, not just the Canadian media, but even overall the international media?
Yeah, I was. I had a feeling it would strike a chord with Tamil community for sure. But then I've gotten so many people, journalists like yourselves from Sri Lanka, and I've gotten so many kind emails and notes from young Sinhalese from Colombo and all over Sri Lanka, really yearning to read the book, or they have downloaded the audiobook and listened to it, and send me a great note about what they learn. And so I have hope for humanity in that, because I think we have to figure out a way in that country to find common bonds and move forward. Sri Lanka has so much potential, and it's untapped. And I wish I can some way give back to that country, even though I have horrible experiences. But sometimes forgiveness is the way to go, and move forward. And in some ways, had I stayed in Sri Lanka, to your earlier question, would I have achieved what I have achieved? I don't know. It's a very hypothetical question, but I think every young boy and girl should have dreams that they can attain certain success in life, and the country could potentially give that as long as we can get past all this racial hate and bigotry.
Let's just talk a bit about what you're doing in Canada. I mean, what sort of business are you involved in? Being among the top executives, of course, you said there is some error there, but what are you up to in Canada, actually?
So I started when I was 19 years old. Bay Street is Canada's Wall Street, and one day I was cleaning. I used to clean buildings at night to make some extra money on the side, and I saw this corner office of some big shot, and I thought, man, it would be nice to have an office on Bay Street one day. So that drove me to apply for this small uh, asset management company. It's basically stocks, bonds, mutual funds. It's a tiny family-owned business or privately held business. When I started, I was the 25th employee on Bay Street, this little firm called Universal Group, and it was $200 million under management at the time. And then, what do you know? Over time, it became one of the largest independent asset management company in Canada, managing close to $400 billion now. And it's been called many other names along the way. Now it's called CI Financial. So what we do is we manage assets on behalf of individuals and also institutions. We are traded on Toronto Stock Exchange, and I am the executive for Canadian business. We have U.S. Business as well. And so I've been just promoted to vice chairman of the company. And I think in my opinion, professionally, I have achieved the most I could in this company. And I'm making a exit soon from this business to really focus on philanthropy and giving back to society. Because I actually believe that when you leave here, this planet, you don't take your accolades with you. It's really what kind of impact you have made in society matters. And so I want to spend the rest of my life to really doing that, helping others, new immigrants in this country, and possibly helping Sri Lanka the best I could from here.
And is your son going to follow the same steps that you did when it comes to business?
Yeah, he's 18 and he just got into a university on a business program. I always tell them, listen, kid, like it doesn't matter what you do in life, you have to be the best at what you do. So if you're going to be a barber, be the best barber in town. If you're going to be a doctor, be the best doctor in town. If you're going to be a tailor, be the best tailor in town. Not second best, be the best. So as my father's advice goes in the book, I put that in there. Do things to perfection. He always used to say, be the best at what you want to do.
I was going to ask you what the future holds, but you already said that you're looking at stepping down and taking a back seat. But is coming back to Sri Lanka something that is, lingering somewhere there in your mind?
I have this burning desire to probably take my last breath in Sri Lanka, if the conditions are friendly enough for me to come. But I'm also, in some way, maybe it's unjustified, a little scared to go back, given the trauma I experienced. But let's see. Never say never, they say, right? So we'll see if it works out. I would love to come there, and I love the food. I love the beaches there. I love the people. Maybe one day, if the stars line up, I'll probably get a small house by the beach and enjoy my life in Sri Lanka.
Well, it was really nice hearing your Sri Lankan story, Roy, and of course, hearing your personal story where things have taken you right now. Wish you all the best and thank you for joining us on the program.
thank you for having me, and all the best to everyone who's listening to this, and especially the Sri Lankans.